India in economic crisis? COVID-19 pandemic, Russia-Ukraine war, China-Taiwan tensions and Sri Lanka crisis, the downturn in coming leading economies predicting a slowdown. What about India? Now the biggest challenge is that the country is facing is high crude prices. Pandemic has also helped in surging crude prices. Can India really fight the global issues and be isolated from them? The 11th of June 2022, RBI releases a very important document which tells that why many states of India are heading towards bankruptcy. But the most important question is how a country goes bankrupt, and suppose when a country goes bankrupt, then what happens to that? There is influence of many economic factors behind a nation's economy. But the most important influence comes from weak monetary policies of a nation. According to an article from USA, these 7 countries of the world can go bankrupt in coming years. But India is not very far than these countries. There are many economic problems going on in many states of our country, due to which, in coming times, India can also go bankrupt. So see, there are 2 main contributing factors behind the direction of a nation. No. 1. A country's history of fiscal responsibility. 110. Means, how much responsible is the government for its citizens' needs, and how spending it has to do to fulfill them. No. 1. Current compliance with IMF debt repayment plans. Means, how much debt that country have on IMF, how is the relationship with them, and most importantly, what would be their debt repayment plan. The debt level of these 7 countries is very high, which is excessively unhealthy for a country's economy. The debt of 4 out of 7 countries is 75% of their GDP. And if we talk about Jamaica and Greece, their debt is even more. It is close to 100% of its GDP. The worse the credit rating of the country, the more difficulty it has in raising money from the international bond market. Because it is very simple, the investors think, why shall we invest our money in this country? The risk here is very high, that our money would be zero. And that is why, when a country with bad credit rating raises money from international bond market, they have to raise money on high interest rate. For example, the 10-year USA Treasury note has an annual yield of 2.16%, means they will have to pay this interest rate. While on the other hand, when the country like Jamaica raised the same money, they have to pay the annual yield of 6.44%. Just have a look at this document. There are many such things in this document released by RBI, due to which, our country may go bankrupt in coming time. Like, if you look at Andhra Pradesh and their finances, you will see how badly they are managing their finances. It's a simple indicator GSDP ratio. It shows the debt of a state in comparison to their gross domestic product. And this should be around 20%. But if look at the GSDP ratio of some countries, it is very high. Like Punjab, where GSDP ratio is 53.3%. But the question is, why is this so high? Well, there are 3 reasons behind it. Number 1, pension expenditure. If we see the old pension scheme very carefully, there, every government employee is getting 50% of their actual annual pay after retirement. But after December 2003, a new scheme was introduced named National Pension Scheme. According to which, the government employee who is getting salary, will have to put 10% in his pension fund, and the company where that employee is working, will contribute the same amount. So in total 20% amount out of his total CTC will go into his pension fund every month. And this total money of this pension fund will get invested in government securities, bonds, private equities and the public companies. So if we see from the perspective of employee, this is a very good thing. Because as your salary will increase, your pension fund amount will keep increasing accordingly. Why? Because your contribution amount and the amount given by government will also keep increasing. But there is a catch over here. That when you retire, you can't take whole amount out of your pension fund. You can withdraw 60% amount just after retirement, but 40% would be in your pension fund, invested in the market, so that it can generate regular income for you. Every state has adopted national pension scheme except West Bengal and Tamil Nadu. But the thing is, this scheme faced criticism and protests. Why? Because this is such a scheme whose consequences you can't see immediately, it will take minimum 20 to 30 years to see its effect. But because the pension was fixed earlier, people used to see its immediate effect, and that is why a lot of people criticized NPS. But recently, the Rajasthan government came up with people-pleasing policy. And that was, the government of Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh moved towards old pension scheme. Now the thing over here is, its temporary benefit is very high, but they're at a very big disadvantage in long term, and that is, this thing increases the expenditure of that particular state very high. According to Rajiv Marishi and Renuka Shahane, currently Rajasthan is spending 23k crore rupees just on pensions, and not just that, their expenditure on salary and wages is 60,293 crore rupees. You know how big this amount is? This is the 56% of their tax and non-tax revenue. The result is, more money is going in their salary and wages than what should have been gone to the development of these states. And it is a big fiscal disaster in itself. Moreover, there are two more factors behind bad economic conditions of states. Number 1, the loss incurred by government-owned power distribution companies, which are also called DISCOMs. Every year, government loses more than 90k crores because of DISCOMs. Second reason, unviable freebies and unreasonable subsidies. Example, Punjab government gives free electricity up to 300 units. Moreover, they waive off a lot of electricity bills, amounting to 5,000 crore rupees every year. In fact, Arvind Kejriwal had promised in Delhi, every woman above 18 will get 1,000 rupees every month. This is an expense of more than 15,000 crore rupees in itself. CM of Andhra Pradesh decided to deposit 6,595 crore rupees for the poor mothers of his state, while the CM of UP had promised to give gas cylinders for free. And if we talk about MP, electricity worth 20,700 crore rupees has been subsidized. And even if it is wrong to say, but this is the truth, that all these things boiled down to political propaganda. Winning the election by giving the freebies, because most of the people don't understand the things which they are getting for free. That amount should have been spent on development of that state, which is being spent to give things for free. Common people get happy because of this, because we think, how good our government is, that is thinking about us and giving things for free. But they don't realize there is nothing free in this world. The things government is giving you for free, someone else is paying for that. And the reality is, you give that money in the form of taxes. Government is giving you things for free because of that money. But the problem over here is, the actual problem arises because of these freebies, is food shortage, fuel shortage, and most importantly, inflation increases in country. You know what our country looks like today. There are many things that have happened in the past, because of which our country is looking like this today. And the thing is, if you have to understand the future of India, you should know the past of India. But the thing is, the history itself is very boring. But Indian Uncovered and India After Gandhi, you won't feel these two audiobooks on Cuckoo FM boring, because these books will tell you such things about India in easy Hindi language, which most of the people don't know. And the interesting part is, there are more than 10k audiobooks, shows and book summaries on Cuckoo FM. It's been more than a year using Cuckoo FM, and I can definitely say this, I didn't such knowledge at such a low price anywhere. You know, currently a Valentine sale is also going on, where you can get 60% on subscription for the first month. You just have to use coupon code LOVE60. With you will get first month subscription at 39 rupees. See how affordable this is. So yes, if you think this is valuable, so you should definitely try this out. I've put its link in description and comment box below. And don't forget to use the coupon code LOVE60 for 60% off on your first month subscription. Coming back to the second reason, that why India can go bankrupt in coming days. And that is devaluation of currency. You can look at this graph, it happens when a country is importing more and exporting less. See, the value of Indian rupee compared to US dollar, is based on demand and supply. In very simple words, if the demand of US dollars increase, the value of Indian rupees decreases. And vice versa. See, when a country imports more than exports, in that scenario, the demand of dollar increases. Why? Because all the international trade happens in dollars. as a result of which, our domestic currency gets depreciated in respective dollars. If we see the current scenario, there are three main reasons behind the fall of rupee. Number 1, Russia-Ukraine war. Number 1, higher crude oil prices. And third and most importantly, foreign capital outflows, which means the money is going out of the country. In year 2022, the foreign outflow from our country was very high. Foreign institutional investors took out all the money from country by selling shares worth $28.4 billion. Which is very high in comparison of 2008 crisis when the shares worth $11.8 billion. And because of this, our rupee is depreciating, and it has decreased to 5.9% this year. And now US Federal Reserve has hiked the market interest rates, which has caused even a bigger dent on Indian currency. But I know what you are thinking, that why is this such a big problem? Well, the reason behind this is our dependency on imports. See, even today our country is dependent on imports for many things, like crude oil, sunflower oil, electronics, metals, etc. So the thing is, no matter where you import from, as long as you import, you will have to pay in dollars only. So if dollar strengthens and rupee weakens, in that scenario you will have to spend more rupee to buy things worth same dollars, as a result of which, the purchasing power of rupee will decrease, because now the cost of importing the raw material has increased, your production cost has increased, and when all these costs get combined and comes as a product, this cost passes on customers, as a result of which, you get expensive things in the market. While on the other hand, the weakening situation of domestic currency, it has boosted exports even more, because it is more cheaper for other countries to import from India, as a result of which, the export market has become very competitive, due to which the foreign buyers are taking control on Indian export market. But if a country is moving towards bankruptcy, or if it gets bankrupt completely, so in that scenario, how that situation looks like? Well, here it is. Every country complete its obligations from the revenue generated from taxes, from their government-owned companies, as well as their investments. Suppose for a moment, your expenses are more than your income, what would you do in this situation? You will take debt, right? From your friends and family or credit card. So the government does the same thing by issuing bonds, with a promise of repaying the bond amount, with the interest rate at the time of maturity. There are two types of debts in any nation's sovereign debts. Number 1, internal debt. The debt within the country, and you can control it by making changes in fiscal and monetary policies, by printing more money or raising tax revenue. Number 1, external debt. The debt which you have to take from World Bank or other countries. Now the thing over here is, if the external debt is higher, so there, the debt which is being created internally, the internal activities you are doing to generate revenue, can divert funds from there. Why? Because you to repay that debt in foreign currency. But if a country fails to repay the debt, they don't go bankrupt, rather they start defaulting the loan. For example, Greece was the first country to default their $1.8 billion on IMF. Spain, on the other hand, has defaulted multiple times. It has defaulted debt repayment for more than 15 times, that too between 18th and 19th century. Member nations of IMF, bailout package request IMF for defaulting on their loans. Because IMF doesn't only financial resources, rather they also provide technical expertise, to execute bailout package well, and countries don't default on their loans in future. See, there are many reasons behind the default of a loan by a country. There can be a very simple reason, reversal of foreign money flows and insufficient revenues. For example, Jamaica defaulted its loan worth $7.9 billion in 2010. Why? Because at that time, the government was overspending, and moreover there was a huge decline in the highest revenue-generating industry, i.e. tourism industry. This was about default. What comes after it? Suppose a company or a person get bankrupt, after that, what happens to him? His assets are seized, right? However, it doesn't happen in case of countries. The creditors can't seize the assets of the country. And they can never force the government to make payments. So in these cases, the whole deal is renegotiated with the creditors. Like, in most cases, the payment of government bonds are postponed. Which means, the value of government bonds are reduced. If we talk about India, this is how the scenario of India looks like. And this is very interesting, so please pay close attention. In March 2022, India's total external debt was $620.7 billion, which is 19.9% of its GDP. In terms of maturity, if we see, the short-term debt is 19.9% of the total debt, while the long-term debt is 80.4% of the total debt. But if we see in terms of currency composition, US dollar dominates the debt at 53%. NRI deposits and foreign investment in government securities, the total of these both becomes the external debt, which currently stands at 31%. Here, the most important indicator is debt service ratio. Means, the country which is based on its current receipts, how much debt can it clear off. Now the thing is, the DSR of India has declined significantly, from 40% in 1990s to 5% in 2022. 1991 external debt was made up of two things. Number 1 multilateral sources and, number 2 bilateral sources. And by combining the both, 40% long-term debt was comprised. But the good thing is that it has declined significantly in 2022. Now it is just 17% of the total long-term debt. So, in very simple words, in such years, our sources of borrowing have changed, which is a very good thing. Even the share of IMF was declined significantly. In 1990s, it was oscillating from 4% to 5%. Which had come to 0%, 1% in early 2000s. And currently, it has slightly increased to 3.7%. From 1991 to 2022, in this whole tenure, there are two more things, which has increased significantly. Number 1 external commercial borrowings. These have increased from 12% to 37%. And number 1 NRI deposits. People who send money from outside to India, it has also increased from 12% to 22%. Extra commercial borrowing is that money, which is the loan taken through commercial companies, that too to do their foreign investments. While on the other hand, the NRI deposits comes in Indian banks. So, ECBs and NRI deposits, both have increased. The biggest component in the short-term debt of a nation which is controlled by trading communities, which they use on regular basis for exports and imports. In India's total external debt, 19.6% is short-term debt. In this 19.6% is short-term debt. 18.9% comes from just trade credits. But the question is the external debt of India on a risky position? The reality is, the external debt of India isn't at all on risk. Moreover, from 1991 to now, the external debt of our country are stabilized. But still, we as Indian can't stay relaxed. Because the value of money is depreciating continuously. India is currently running high on inflation, accompanied by large deficits. Moreover, RBI has increased interest rate which will cause slow growth, but in coming time, the external debt to GDP ratio can increase more. And not just that, as we have talked, the sources of external debt has changed, which was coming from multilateral and bilateral sources earlier has now shifted from ECBs and NRI deposits. Means the money which used to come from government, has now shifted to banking system and private borrowings. See, if government is borrowing, it can avail concession facilities. They can also roll over the liabilities. But if these borrowings are happening in private sector and banks, the problem here is that they can't do things like government, due to which RBI has taken some steps to control depreciation, as well as increase NRI deposits, to bring more money in India from outside. Our government and RBI are trying to internationalize rupee, which will reduce the dollar-based liabilities of our country. But seeing all this, what do you think? What would the future of India? Will India go bankrupt? Please let me know in the comment section. And yes, if you want to get such knowledge in easy Hindi language at affordable prices, which most of the people don't have, then you should definitely try out Cuckoo FM app. I've put its link in description and comment box below. And if you use coupon code LOVE60, which is valid till Valentine's sale, from 11th to the 14th of February, you can get Cuckoo FM first month subscription at 60% off, i.e. just 39 rupees. Super affordable. I've put its link in description and comment box below. See, as smart citizens, it is very important for us to understand banking, money, international matters very deeply. Do you know, banks do such things will you all which can cause high inflation, and many people don't know how money works. Well, if you see the video on the right, you'll come to know. Subscribe to Study in Italy. Thanks for watching.